Carl Gustav Jung, and other major thinkers have often been associated, rightly or wrongly in popular interpretation, with the idea that a significant part of our lives is shaped by unconscious processes. Jung, in particular, emphasized the unconscious mind, archetypes, active unconscious as deep psychological structures that influence how we think, feel, and behave, often without our awareness. According to this perspective, much of what we call choice is actually shaped by internal patterns we inherit from childhood, family dynamics, and even broader cultural memory. Especially powerful among these influences are the psychological imprints we receive from our family system. These early experiences form the deepest code of our personality, shaping how we perceive ourselves, others. When these inherited patterns are healthy, they can support resilience and emotional balance. But when they are toxic, unresolved, or traumatic, they can turn into invisible burdens that quietly shape our destiny. At that point, the essential question becomes this: are we condemned to repeat these patterns, or do we have the power to rewrite them? This journey is ultimately about discovering inner strength and separating your identity from the psychological legacy of your family. If you are ready, we can begin this exploration. The family system, the foundation of the psyche. The bond you have with your family forms the basic structure of your psychological world. These early relationships can act like wind beneath your wings or like waves pulling you under. Your earliest experiences determine how you interpret reality, how safe you feel in the world, and what you believe about your own worth. But what exactly is meant by a toxic family legacy? This is not a genetic disease. Rather, it refers to the emotional wounds, unresolved traumas, learned defense mechanisms, suppressed emotions, and psychological survival strategies of your parents being passed down to you consciously or unconscious. Within a family system, communication styles, emotional reactions, and behavioral patterns shape the child's inner psychological map. Here, Jung's concept of the shadow becomes relevant to the parts of the family system that are denied or repressed, often get projected onto the child. Over time, the child may internalize these projections as their own identity. This can feel confusing and painful, as if you were living inside a fog without being able to name your emotional experiences. Many adult struggles such as anxiety, low self-worth, relationship difficulties, or depression can be traced back to this early emotional environment. The purpose of understanding this is not blame, but awareness. Recognizing patterns is the first step toward breaking them. 1. Controlling and manipulative family dynamics. In controlling families, children grow up under constant psychological pressure. Parents may impose rigid expectations, control decisions, or manipulate emotions under the guise of care. Often, these behaviors are rooted in the parent's own unresolved fears and insecurities. According to Jungian thinking, unresolved inner conflicts are often projected onto others. The child becomes a vessel for the parent's need for control. Effects in adulthood: difficulty making independent decisions, fear of failure and constant self-doubt, weak personal boundaries, dependency on external validation, suppression of authentic emotions, relationship patterns based on control or submission. The individual often loses connection with their authentic self, living according to external expectations rather than inner values. 2. Emotional neglect and absence. In emotionally neglectful families, physical needs may be met, but emotional needs are ignored. The child is not truly seen, heard, or understood. Parents may be physically present but emotionally absent due to their own struggles, stress, or emotional immaturity. Effects in adulthood: chronic inner emptiness, difficulty forming secure relationships, fear of abandonment or emotional closeness, difficulty identifying and expressing emotions, low self-worth and feelings of invisibility, strong need for external validation. The child grows into an adult who constantly seeks emotional nourishment from external sources because internal emotional security was never built. Healing begins with learning to recognize and name emotions, and gradually developing self-compassion and emotional awareness. 3. Narcissistic parental dynamics. In narcissistic family systems, the child is not seen as an individual, but as an extension of the parent's identity. The child exists to fulfill the parent's emotional needs, ambitions, or ego. From a Jungian perspective, this reflects a projection of the parent's shadow onto the child. Effects in adulthood. Identity confusion: who am I really? Chronic self-doubt and low self-esteem. People-pleasing behavior. Emotional suppression. Difficulty setting boundaries. Repeating unhealthy relationship patterns. Persistent feeling of emptiness despite achievements. The individual often struggles to build an authentic identity because they were never allowed to develop one independently. 4. Perfectionist and highly critical families. In these families, love and acceptance are conditional. Success is expected, but rarely appreciated. Mistakes are magnified, and emotional safety is limited. Parents often project their own fears of failure onto their children. Effects in adulthood. Harsh inner critic. Perfectionism and fear of mistakes. Procrastination due to fear of failure. Difficulty accepting praise. Anxiety and chronic stress. Conditional self-worth. The person learns that being good enough is never enough. 5. Victim-oriented chronic martyr parents. In these families, parents consistently adopt a victim mentality. They blame external circumstances and avoid responsibility for their own lives. Effects in adulthood. Difficulty taking responsibility. Tendency to feel helpless, either rescuing others or avoiding responsibility entirely. Weak sense of personal agency. Emotional exhaustion from over-involvement in others' problems. The child learns that life is something to endure rather than shape. 6. Boundary-violating families. In these environments, personal privacy and individuality are not respected. Parents may intrude into emotional, physical, or psychological space without permission. Effects in adulthood. Weak or non-existent boundaries. Difficulty saying no. Chronic guilt when asserting needs. Confusion about identity and preferences. Feeling emotionally invaded in relationships. Workplace overcommitment and burnout. Without boundaries, the self cannot fully develop. 7. Conflict-ridden and chaotic families. In these families, tension, arguments, and emotional instability are constant. The home feels unsafe and unpredictable. Effects in adulthood. Hypervigilance and anxiety. Emotional exhaustion. Avoidance of conflict or attraction to drama. Difficulty feeling safe in relationships. Suppressed anger. Chronic stress responses. The nervous system remains in a constant state of alert. 8. Overprotective and controlling families. These families are driven by fear rather than trust. Children are not allowed to make independent decisions or experience life freely. Effects in adulthood. indecisiveness and dependence, fear of independence, social anxiety, difficulty initiating life changes, strong attachment or separation anxiety, lack of self-confidence. Even love becomes restrictive rather than empowering. Can this cycle be broken? Yes. Absolutely. But it requires awareness, courage, and consistent inner work. 1. Awareness. Recognizing patterns is the first step toward freedom. Once unconscious behaviors become conscious, they lose their 2. Emotional distance. Not necessarily physical separation, psychological separation, learning not to absorb every emotional dynamic around. 3. Boundaries. Learning to say no is one of the strongest acts of self-definition. 4. Self-compassion. Replacing internal criticism with understanding and kindness toward yourself. 5. Rebuilding identity. Exploring what you like, what you value, and what you want independent of family expectations. Final reflection. From a Jungian perspective, the goal is not to reject your past, but to integrate it consciously. The unconscious patterns inherited from family do not have to become destiny. When brought into awareness, these patterns can be transformed. What once felt like limitation can become insight. What once felt like repetition can become freedom. The journey is not about blaming the past, but about reclaiming authorship of your own life story.